Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Caroline O'Sullivan, and you are watching Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O. This is our third installment with Erika McElwey of Change Your Range on the East Coast. So we're having a bi-coastal conversation this evening. So welcome, Erika. I'm so glad you got around, you were able to get together again.
Yes, it's great. It's been a great day, and we're here on the East Coast, and we're ready to bring on the next segment.
Cool, cool. So in the past, go ahead and look on our YouTube page. We've talked about wonderful, innovative, outside the box rehabilitation techniques and thought processes for both dogs and for horses. And then we were able to do an episode where Erika helped me with my personal dog. His name is Gambate, and he is a about 5-year-old pit bull who has been through a lot of orthopedic problems and a lot of orthopedic surgeries and a ton of rehab. So that's really awesome show. We've gotten really good feedback on that from people that do it for a living and people that were able to bring that into their household, which is what we want to talk about today. How do we make rehabilitation from accident, illness, surgery, who knows, to the household? How do we bring it into every person's life? And we'll talk a little bit today with Erika about how traditional Western standard rehabilitation is usually presented to folks that are looking into it. So let's start by finding out who Erika is and what she does and how the heck you can get a hold of her. So take off with that, Erika. How does the world get a hold of you, my dear?
Just call me. Here I am. Just call. I'm Erika with Change Your Range Rehabilitation and Strengthening Programs. My background is myotherapy. In some of the other segments, you'll get a little bit more information, but I am trained in trigger point myotherapy for both horses and dogs. Taken my work with horses and brought it into the canine programs, and we've done 15 years in the expertise now in the field, and it's going strong. So I'm happy to be here, and you can check out my website, changeyourrange.com. Find us on Facebook, and you can always email at changeyourrange@gmail.com. Right. Thanks for having us.
You are so welcome. And everyone needs to know that I was here with Erika, or via our communication techniques that were kind of fumbled, but it worked out great. The things that I learned from Erika in less than an hour time about a different way of looking at my own dog, my own situation, my own hopes for his progress, changed everything. And for folks that know me from the radio show or personally or YouTube, know that I have a very, very short list of folks that I would refer people to or people that I trust. And most people I've shaken their hands. So Erika is on a very, very, very short list of people that I have been duly impressed with. So that should come with some, that's not small shakes, because, I'm an Irish Pollock and I have a really good temper and I think I know everything. So, this was fantastic. So,
well, thank you. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
That's so funny. That's not what that statement was about, but that's awesome. So for those folks that are watching, I am the proud owner of a 5-year-old pit bull who had parvo. He survived it, obviously. He went bilaterally blind when he was 2 years old. He then ruptured both of his cranial cruciate ligaments, meaning both of his knees. In human sports, that would be called an ACL tear. He ruptured both of them at the same minute a couple of years ago. And I was in Arizona at that time, and I immediately went back to Vegas, where I'm from, where all of my trusted orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, oncologists, rehabilitation folks are. And with phone calls, as I'm rushing across the desert, going first to a boarded neurologist. I thought something was wrong with his neck. I thought maybe he had Wobbler's disease because he went down that fast. And so did they. And then he was scheduled for a CT. I go to my orthopedic surgeon, and he picks my dog up and does what's called a cranial drawer, which is taking their tibia and moving the tibia forward. And if the ligament that holds the tibia under the femur isn't there anymore, it goes kung kung, just like a drawer, and it makes you want to vomit. It makes you want to vomit when you see it. That's coming as a doctor and as an owner. He went through.
It's like disjointed almost.
It's just, oh God, it's so nasty. So he went through bilateral TPLO surgeries, which is a major orthopedic surgery with plating and bone cutting and joint cleaning and wonderful stuff. He had both of his knees done at the same time, which no one ever does. You don't do that. You do one at a time, but he didn't have one knee that was better than the other. So I'm in Vegas. I'm with one of the second biggest referral practices in the West Coast. I have all the right toys, all the right doctors, all the right rehab equipment. So after surgery, I go to rehab. Okay. So I do underwater treadmill work. I do range of motion work. I do massage work. I do Cavaletti's work. I do I don't know what the right word for this. You're gonna have to rescue me here, Erica. When weight shifting work, those types of things, and of course, everyone that's licensed rehabilitation specialists are the ones that do the work, and I'm just sitting there as a client trying to learn how to take care of my dog. So this was wonderful, successful, expensive, repetitive treatment that I had to do follow through at home. Okay. And my dog's one of his surgeries failed. So we had to go get his left leg redone. So we did it all over again. New packages of underwater treadmill work, more rehab, more range of motion, more antibiotics, more painkillers, more everything that goes along with Western medicine, including what I do. Okay. We had acupuncture, we had herbals, we had all the right pain meds, he get massage from somebody that you'll meet on air hopefully soon. Twice a week. You know, he had all the best care, but the foundation of his recovery with all the experience, all the education, all the people I know was still underwater treadmill work, all of the things that you go to make appointments for 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 appointments with a large package to help rehab a post-op dog. Now, it would behoove me to say that it was a financial strain. It was a time strain. It was an emotional strain. I'll tell you that for sure. But the idea that that kind of rehabilitation, although it's wonderful, 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 is within the reach of many people, whether it's geographically, time-wise, schedule-wise, or financially, is a truism. So let's hit Erika with that, because I just threw a bunch of stuff in her court, because this is where Erika shines, right? Because she's a believer in rehabilitation. She's dedicated her life to it, right? So let's hear where she comes in with this and her thoughts on it, because this is how she spends her life, and she does an awesome, awesome job, and an outside the box thinker, free thinker. So Erika, when I told you my story, where did your brain go? Where were your thoughts at that time, knowing that we've been through all this stuff and we're not doing it anymore?
Yeah, it's you had a broad history there, and a lot of things with the same thought that you have a bilateral situation, and that's unfortunately when you have one ACL go, the other one is not far behind, and yeah, I mean everybody wants to start by rehabbing the knee, and there's this approach about how we could do so many sessions of underwater treadmill, how to strengthen non-weight bearing. Strengthen the muscles of function, then get weight bearing involved, and it's very true, and it works. It works very well. When it doesn't work is when there seems to be something else, and that's where I have evolved in my programs and strategies, is initially looking at why. Why, you know, in the history of movement, did these knees have a problem in the first place? You know, is it conformation? Is it a fault in that we have the legs are just too straight? There's no real angulation from the knee to the stifle to the hock to the paw. It just goes more straight down from the hip. All these things can take into consideration, but I look at the movement, and you have to go back to changing what and how they're doing things, because if the body weight is still, you know, presented being more forward or behind, the center of gravity is more forward, you're not going to get the hind end to what I say squat into itself or bend or use it into itself. So you know, TPLOs, all the different types of strategies, the lateral suture, they have all different forms of you know, how to correct the conformation faults with these guys. But again, if we're not helping to negate how they're doing it, so we need to be hands-on with that approach. So in the underwater treadmill, I had started and I thought it was the greatest thing. I loved working with the underwater treadmill. I loved working at the rehab center with the water therapy. But one of the things that I kept saying is, if I'm not in the tank with them and I'm not moving their legs the way I want them to be moving, we're not getting anywhere. We're in the same habitual hiccup pattern of movement where they might only lead with the left rear first and then the right kind of comes along. Or, you know, if it is bilateral, the unique thing is that it looks like it's in their low back. And then we have a lot of psoas dysfunction, a lot of pelvis dysfunction. So we end up saying, oh, it's a low back issue. And if I watch other therapists work, it'll go back to the surgeon and say, oh, you missed something, we got a low back problem. And it's like, no, we're dealing with compensation. So how everybody's going to perceive it is going to be a little different. And, you know, I indulge into the history. I want to know, how has that dog been climbing stairs as a youngster? What as a youngster may have been a little peculiar about their movement. And this is where my other programs have evolved from me being the detective in this chase. But, you know, there's more than just the step of the underwater treadmill. There's more than the therapeutic modalities that can go with this and strengthening. And I think that you have, with Combate, seen and found all of that to be true. And I think that it comes down to, no matter what the depth of, you know, the financial situation may be, a lot of people I find can't even go into surgeries of that caliber. And with that being said, doesn't mean that we're at a loss. A lot of my programs have come because my clients have said, I can't afford it, how can you help? And I can't afford to do all these surgeries, but if I put this money into rehab in a program, how best could it turn out? And I'll tell you, my first set was, well, if you haven't had surgery, you know, there was a time at which I had never worked on a dog who had not had surgery. Yes, the experience has come over time, but what happened was we tried it. And when we tried it, we found success and results. And that is where the door started to open and broaden, that, if we're, you know, if we change the aspects of how they're using them and stop the stress and support the changes, support the scar tissue, we can move forward. And as this evolution has evolved, we've now gotten into possibility of external bracing. So now we can create a brace instead of going in, you know, and fixing it internally for the surgery. We fix it with a brace that we apply, an orthopedic brace that's applied, it's custom designed, and we create programs and strengthening around this. So immediately, there's no downtime, there's no surgery time, there's no healing, further healing that means they can't walk. We get them on their feet, put the brace on, and go. And watch for any of these other changes. So there's a lot of evolution in how rehab has been made to have to become affordable for people. We know what the economy's been. We've been through the round of it. And I think that a lot of these programs that are out there, these package deals, it's great. I mean, the product is there. It's good. It can get you what you need. But for some of it where it's not reachable, I make that reachable.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, because not only with what I went through, it got us to a certain point, and then he needs some more help for different reasons. But in my practice now, I see many people who can't look that expense in the face. I mean, you know, the idea of that kind of money is shocking for any reason whatsoever. I mean, like mortgage payments, you know, this is like 3 or 4 mortgage payments, not just, you know, so I completely get it. And that your external bracing, huge fan of it. I mean, you know, decreased lateral instability, those types of things. I really want to get into that, but you said something extremely interesting a little ways ago about looking at confirmation.
Bring me back to that point, will you?
Just reel her in. The confirmation of these dogs, or their locomotion, their kinesiology, whatever the right words are at this point in time, before anything happened, you know, before any incident happened. And for me, when I see dogs, young dogs, or it doesn't really matter, but I call them posty-legged. I say they walk like a tin soldier. They're posty-legged dogs because, like you said, their confirmation off the rear is hip, whoop, stifle, whoop, Achilles, foot. I'm like, there's no real motion to the damn thing. They move like this. I said, that is so, you've got a lot of compensatory stuff going on in your lower lumbar and your sacral to make the body go like this instead of having the coxofemoral joints move like so. And so we try to address that, not in the same way you do, but just to kind of let people know. And it kind of it stops and go, yeah, you got a posty-legged dog there, like so, and people don't know. Yeah, so it's how do you start early? How do you start early with these little dudes?
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, the thing is they say that, and it's like, well, yeah, I see the difference, but what can I do about it? And it's like,
yes.
well, yeah, just be prepared for future breakdown. And it's like, okay. Well, great, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to put my dog on some procycline, glucosamine. They're going to start on Atacon injections. We're going to help support these joints.
Yeah.
But it's all orthopedic. It needs to be looked at from a structural muscular perspective as well, because how do those angles bend and how do the joints, from hip to stifle to hock to paw get their formation is through not just the bony structure, but through the muscles that support the bony structure. Mm-hmm. So I look at these guys, and I've created my pop-up programs. I call it the pop-up program. And through their growth phases, when they're looking funny, they're growing, they're high in the rear, they're low in the front, and they start that awkward walking. In past of our conversations, we've talked about these neurological patterns that I've been watching and seeing, and that in trigger point myotherapy, we noticed that there's referred pain patterns. Uh-huh. Neurologically, the puppies, if they're allowed to waddle when they walk because they have awkward stages, and because they're in an awkward stage, but mom and dad still want to go for a 40-minute hike or an hour hike, you're encouraging this ill movement. So I sit back with my clients, I watch this, I teach them about the movement they want to see, and I say, if you're not seeing this, that is the time to slow down, and that's when I put more core work in. So I'd spend more time indoors or on core stability, getting strength in the abdominals, strength in the top line, letting the limbs equal out, letting their back and their front kind of level out again. Same thing with my horses. We go through this with young fillies and bulls. So they grow up, they get into these funny zones. They move awkward. It's accepted because they say, they grow out of it. But some guys, if the owners are so ridiculed and so ritual that they go for this walk every day, this is how it is, and whether it's rain or shine, we're actually patterning them to move in that way. And not all of them get out of it. Yeah. So what happens is they've now picked up this movement pattern, they've obtained it, and they've kind of moved. So I give, my pups a lot of exercises and my owners exercises to bring that angulation in, to make the dog aware, or the puppies aware of where their feet are, to make these horses and young bulls aware of how to move their feet, how to stay in a box and have control of that center of gravity. Looking at and I may step away to do this because it may be the time, but if you look at a level and the bubble on a level, you'll be able to see how much movement it takes to move the bubble.
Not very much.
Not very much. You think it's straight when you're looking at, it's level, and the bubble's way over here, and you're like, I thought this was level. And then you bring it to level, and now what your eyes are seeing is like, whoa, okay, the bubble's telling me it's level, but my eyes aren't seeing that. Right. There's our compensation. So our compensation is looking at these dogs and how to move and balance and animals. So, or the horses, excuse me. So there is a series of movements and a series of stretches and exercises that I give in the beginning, prior to rehab, prior to the necessity of breakdown, that says this is how we can avoid these circumstances. And I'm hoping that through these series in this discussion that we can start getting the word out there, that we can bring these into the home, we can teach them with a puppy. And I wish it would start in the wellness programs. It'd be great if part of the wellness programs and the vaccine protocols would include a little bit of a education piece for the owner, not just about what vaccines are due next in 4 weeks, but maybe what you should be doing at home to keep this dog sound in the next 4 weeks.
I can guarantee you that nobody in veterinary medicine knows that. Nobody who's just coming out of veterinary school knows that. Nobody even thinks that way. So what you're being extremely proactive, you're being very, very mindful, you're being very observant, and you're being very, very individuated. So you're making individual plans, individual core wellness plans, individual exercise regimes based on.
It doesn't. It is individualized when there's specific needs to be met. So as a person or a child with special needs gets a specific IEP, individual education plan, or an individual assessment plan because they have special needs. But children growing up get put into the academic world with a structure of training. And we go through kindergarten to 12th grade and we graduate with a structured education. I don't think it's so individualized when you get to the puppy level. I think it's basic. Yeah. And I feel like it's basic enough that it should be out there and hopefully maybe, taking some of this and putting it in a book form and saying, here's a pamphlet, read on it. You can do these simple exercises with your dog as a youngster and start them on the right foot.
Well, it sounds like you've just created a little bit more work for yourself and a little bit of more social media awareness. We need to get to work on that and maybe do some work with the specialization in puppies, and talk more about that because it is so important, right? Getting off on a good start and being proactive, being preemptive, all of those things, and then with your skilled eye being able to see things that other folks maybe won't see, or, oh, it's just a puppy. What for me, it's just like, yeah, but look at those teeth. And look at that stilty legs, and look at this, and ow in the back, and then so the way I look at a puppy and the way an owner look at a puppy may be different. The way I look at a puppy and the way you look at a puppy, definitely different. So we definitely have to work on that together. Now, tell me, when all of these wonderful thoughts that you actually put into practice, and the folks that you work with, and talking about the extent to which we can go time-wise, financially-wise, all sorts of commitments with these guys. You and I had a wonderful conversation about the explosion of the rehabilitation community for our pets, which is thankful. I'm so thankful that that's there. But then how do we pull that back in and make that accessible to folks in their living room? Or what is your goal with that? Because I know that it's kind of near and dear to your heart, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to have you take that moment 1 second and take it a little further. I'm going to step aside and I'll be right back.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. So Erika and I discussed at the end of our last filming about how rehabilitation in the Western world and post-op and post-accident, post-surgery has really blossomed. We are able to do things with the animals that we never really thought that they could benefit from, or never even thought that they needed in rehab. It was just kind of take them home, give them some pain meds, keep them quiet for a little while. But now the animal world, of course, has grown and to as much respect and even surpassed the human rehabilitation world. So with what I do, in addition to everything we've talked about with underwater treadmill work, weight shifting work, range of motion work, Cavaletti work, some ball work. I do acupuncture, I do electrostim, I do spinal manipulation, I do all kinds of wonderful things that can help these guys in their rehabilitation, including the most important thing, or one of the most important things, pain management, right? So as we recover from a surgery, we recover from an accident, we learn to compensate for our pain by using different muscles, using different areas of our body, finding different ways to get up, different ways to move. And you know what I'm talking about. You know people that have had chronic pain, or maybe you have, or maybe your neck is stiff. And then instead of just turning your head, you kind of turn your whole shoulders to look over, to make a turn, or to say hi to somebody. You're compensating, you're stiffening up areas around the area of pain to guard yourself, to compensate for an owie here, or a strain here, or a nerve pinch there. And it happens throughout our body, but you have to think about, what if we had compensatory pain? What if we had compensatory stiffness? What if you and I were on 4 legs instead of 2? What if we were quadrupeds? How would we get up? How would we move? How would we pull ourselves up? How would we get our head down to the ground for our water bowl? We have to think about these things as veterinarians, or as rehabilitation specialists, or anyone in the animal community, that the same kind of pain responses, the same kind of compensation, the same kind of guarding that we do, they do. And it takes somebody thinking in a different way versus just handing them a pill, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. We don't do that anymore. So Erika's back to talk to us a little bit about how do we take that thought process into the home, not necessarily having to go for these package deals, which we love. We love these package deals. We love the rehab that's offered to our animals, but how do we kind of simplify that on a day-to-day, maybe more affordable way, and get into the grasp of folks that not only aren't going to do the surgeries, but their animals need help, and it's a very different way of going about it than I went about it. So how do you do that, Erika?
Thanks for giving me that moment, and it was nice coming back and talking about hearing you talk about the 4 legs versus the 2 and how we do things and how we compensate. And we got into that about the purse and how we carry our purses and how men put them in the same hip and they compensate. We find the same thing, and you know, a lot of times I find myself every day. I find myself putting myself out there, looking funny in the sense of imitating the dog movement. So I tell my clients and I show them if I'm watching a competition pattern, why don't you do this and you try it like this and tell me where you feel it, you know? So the same thing is they're compensating on 4 legs, compensating on 2. Everything meets to make the eyes level, and it's going to try to make their eyes level as well. So hence why, you know, we get the same thing. We get axial, you know, cervical neck tension when we have low back tension. So SI and cervicals go together. Same thing on the horse, same thing on the dog. So and all of that. So it's great hearing you. So again, you know, getting back to options that I have really worked hard to get there and put out there for people, because it's not easy, and you know, especially when it comes to the rehabilitation side, you want to make them better, and you want to make them better as fast as you can. And everybody says, "Oh, I need it, you know, I want it fixed," but I don't have the expense or the means to get there. I have my mortgage payment, I have my children. Speaking of children, that's what I just had to take care of. So the reality world here is I'm working and I'm still mom, in which I had twins, right? So the joke in my house is that my mother would have done it no other way. You would have still had 4 legs around you, right? I didn't just have 2 legs. I had 2 children, so now I have 4 legs.
4 legs. Yep. Oh.
The compensation for we're working towards you know, talking about, again, the affordable options and how it's bring this to the home is to be making people aware, allowing people to see what I see and to let them and be able to make a difference themselves. It's empowering to people that they can be an owner and actually work to fix something and be a part of that. It may not be for everybody, as we do have some, you know, owners that maybe have themselves where other programs are necessary. But it definitely can continue to allow us being able to try it and see how it goes. Right. And that's what led me to doing these video talks, video consults, bringing it to allowing people to share video information with me in my programs. You know, looking at a series of lists or videos on the computer that I can demonstrate for them. They take it, you know, they interpret it themselves and look at it, bring it back, show me what you're doing so that we can communicate better and move forward.
Right. What you just mentioned something that happened in my relationship with it. I have somebody comes to my house every other Thursday and gives Combate a full body massage. She's a certified canine massage therapist. She does some Reiki on him and such. But she was able to look at the video consultation that you and I did together, and she was able to vicariously learn some new things and try it with him, so that even if, like you said, maybe people don't have the time, like some folks, or you have 2 children, or I have a practice and all these other things, but being able to have the tools in people's hands to use the best fit to their situations, so that their dogs or horses or animals or friends can benefit just by having the knowing that there's something else out there, knowing that there's something that they can actually do or have their friends do or their family do. You said the right word, it's empowering, isn't it? Instead of feeling like you're kind of floating with no direction, no power, being empowered to be the best advocate for your non-human friends is a really, really good goal. And I think that's something that I can tell you that you did it for me, and that folks that don't know that this is even an option out there, I hope the whole world sees this video so that everyone calls you. Or, well, you can't, everyone can't call you, but I hope everyone calls you. So you do the consults kind of like you and I are doing right now, where you can see what the issue is, talk to the folks about it, give them tools to do their own thing, and then revisit with them for like a checkup appointment would be for me, but you do it via distance. Yes, is that what you do? Yeah.
Yep. And that's the evolving of how remote people are to these centralized rehabilitation centers.
Right.
It's like they're so they're becoming more and more popular, which is great, but they're still few and far between.
They are.
And therefore, it's like trying to travel to the emergency center. I mean, we don't have an emergency center at every working vet hospital, so you have to have those remote centers where it takes a bit of time to get there when there's an emergency. And that's where rehab sometimes gets lost in the flow, is because they can't get there. Maybe they have the finances, but they can't get there because they live too far away. So in that sense, being in a remote place can also give you less internet connection. But they seem to be able to come off the mountain and get to a friend's house easier than the next rehab center, 4 hours away. But so there are still some hiccups in the world of how we can communicate. But this type of work, is for a trained eye to be able to pick up on and be able to evolve into what other therapists will be able to look forward to in the future. That is, they can evolve and grow and learn these techniques and learn it from the simplistic level. That obviously not everybody can have a laser, not everybody can have magnetic, instruments or tools for their kit. As you're aware, there's certain licensing as for veterinarians to be able to do certain type of movements, stuff. So we're not talking about teaching everybody to do these therapies on a level to go and make money for themselves and do all of this. It's on a homeowner's level, an owner's level, and an info program to do for their dog and their specific needs.
Yeah, that's so important, Erika, because some folks actually do hang out a shingle and say that they can do stuff with dogs or cats or horses because they have human qualifications. And I'm here to tell you, there is nothing about doing rehab on a quadruped, non-human species, that is like doing rehab on a human, including you need to get licensed. You need to have training. You need to be a trained, licensed professional to stick your hands on my dog. And I don't mean to be too much of a stickler, but I couldn't be more serious about it. It's not okay to put your shingle out and claim to do things, or it's not okay to get Erika's training and then tell your neighbor you can do it and get money for it. Every patient, every client, however it is that whatever it is you call your four-legged friends, is different. And it's Erika has been through extensive training, and you've had wonderful, wonderful people teach you as I always call it, a neophyte. Like I walk in someplace, I know a lot of things, but I don't know what the hell you're doing, so help me out here. But I think it's important people know that to work on animals, you need to be highly trained, licensed, and in my case, I have to have a lot of other letters and a lot of other things behind my name just to be doing this, or have those letters behind my name that you see there, and Erika as well. So it doesn't mean that everyone should be able to go out here and do this. They should be able to learn from Erika and work on their own animals and get really great improvement. But this is a specialty, and that you want to do the right thing for your animals at all times. In being an advocate. So I don't mean to get off my soapbox here. So you can go ahead and talk to some people. Tell me about, how do we start? How do we start? How do we get a hold of you and say, I live in no man's land and I have very little access to anything, and I've got this dog or horse that's got whatever. Just remind folks, how do we get a hold of you, and how do we start a dialogue with you about something that we might not be able to talk to you about in person? Because this is an awesome service. It's an awesome service that you provide.
It's a growth. And a lot of times the other part of what I can offer as well is not only just what I can do for those that are in their own limited areas, but also be able to maybe say that, yes, the water therapy program would be a good addition to doing these things, or being able to help another sector, who's becoming busier in their practice, be able to hit some points where they, if they can't get back to them, how can we help keep them steady and going forward without regression?
Right.
So,
right.
The best way to do that is to email me. Usually email me an introduction, who you are, where you're from, what exactly you're looking for, and how, can we meet those expectations for you, and then we can go ahead and set up consults once we've have a dialogue.
Beautiful. Now, can you go over a list, like a line item list of the techniques and or, well, I guess there are more techniques than there are services, but you do some really cool specialized stuff that when I was reading, I actually had to look it up. I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? I don't even know. So, but you have a wonderful list, especially on your website, about some of your initial sections or follow-up sessions. What might be included in that, including some of the stuff that you do is so specialized with your neurological repatterning and gait assessment, and then some of the other work you do, so that people have an idea of how you might be different than the rehab they've been through before, such as I was.
I like to say that a lot of the lists and the things that I utilize in doing these things are, again, options where you've mentioned a couple times you're seeing the gait assessment part, and that is working with a more specific company in a gait analysis mat that is going to allow owners who might not see it from their eye level get the numbers. So it's a map that's going to give you data of information of how these dogs are moving, how they're weight bearing at each limb, so that we can utilize that and see the balance. So for what I see on a regular basis, this map can give numbers to it so that it actually shows not only just how the evolution of the dog is moving, but it can also show the owners that there's room for here. You started off with a 30, 20, 10, 9, and you're going to be able to get these numbers 100% on each paw with more value. And you're going to do this by doing these certain exercises, and by getting this done at home is a relief to that. So I'm working with different companies that are working on their own products, and I'm trying to utilize those products to help my owners realize and get that they can get these improvements done. But a lot of times it's they don't have the space. Now we're in a change. The weather is poor. We have ice on the ground. There's slipping. I don't have good services, or my clients are wheelchair themselves, and it's their service dogs. Now we have another area of dogs that are performing. They have day-to-day duty, but they're not able to get the physical activity they need. Besides throwing the ball, letting them run it back, you'll see some great articles I've worked on with some others about how to make fetch, how to make fetch an training exercise. Great things that we look for the walk pattern, we look for the running, we look for the trotting, and so a lot of that game comes back to having a treadmill, a dog treadmill, and that can bring us into a whole other line of things. Each one of these can have its own little video dialogue. I think.
Right.
It goes to what are some of these affordable tools that we can have, that owners can have in their home to be able to work with and still get that done. Because if it's an excuse, I've heard it. I don't have time. I'm a mom. I'm a dad. I know I have my business. I'm a veterinarian. Or I've heard it all. And I say, if a lot of people say what I always say, you're going to call me and want me to do all the work, and want me to have regular routine appointments with you and your dog, I'm not the person to call, because I don't have that time to help everybody in that type of manner.
Right.
I like to work where I have a few sessions back to back, and we give you the tools that you need to move this forward. Because even if it's a short-term rehab, there's still long-term maintenance to keep you in a better zone. And even if it's just, this is my puppy, I want to make sure they're doing well, we're going to go through a series of growth patterns. So we're going to meet at 6 months, we're going to meet at 12 months, we're going to meet at a year and a half,
Right.
18 months. We're going to hit those growth spurts and growth marks so that we can achieve these things. In the meantime, you have homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
now, you mentioned, I think you mentioned a couple words ago that you have some articles that would be interesting for folks to read that you've done with other people. Are those on your website, or how would one such as myself get to those articles to kind of self-educate to get tuned up? And I appreciate what you say about the homework thing, and it kind of feels like a little slap on my wrist. You know, you gotta do your work, right, O'Sullivan? Get your damn dog down here for a consult, and make your rehab a priority. I get it. I'm like, shame. But so
like that, but I meant it more like, I didn't mean it like that, and then maybe it sounded that way, but
no,
really
it's true. It's true. What you said is true. No.
Everyday routines that makes more of a difference than once a week
Yeah.
or twice a month in a shop. You
Yeah.
know, it really does. It makes a bigger difference. Do smaller amounts more frequently, especially when it comes to such things like Abate with the neurologic retraining and nerve repatterning. You can't just hit it once and walk away. You have to continue that process and more frequently.
Well, lucky for him, he's got 4 people doing it, so it works out nice. Now, back to the article thing. Do you have articles you've written? Is that what you said?
I've worked with some other people in helping to get these articles done and written. A lot of them you'll see actually on DogTread, dogtread.com. The DogTread is the company that I utilize with the dog treadmills. And again, we're trying to help, educate people and bring it to a level that they can understand, and how to, if you want to play fetch, go ahead, play fetch. But this is how to make it a benefit exercise, not just a play exercise. So you can find those articles on dogtread.com.
Okay.
You'll see that I am one of the canine coaches on their website as well. So if somebody has one of their units or their treadmill units that they sell without me having a background in it, they have somebody to go to should that owner be having trouble moving forward and things like that. So
that's awesome.
And reconnect. But in that style, so she actually has them listed. I think, linked a few of them to the website, but again, it's all time and getting it together and done. But for myself, I think it's finding the time to do it. But I always, and in my literature, there will refer back to the link that Krista Wiggins with DogTread has already provided.
All right, cool beans. So it sounds like we have a lot more things to go over, because I've seen your information about the treadmill and the work that you do with DogTread. I read about that, and then some of the stuff that we talked about I think maybe underwater work, or having some weight-bearing work versus buoyancy work. There's so much stuff. And then what you just said about this puppy thing it really, for me, is somewhat revolutionary to be so proactive, and to make sure that these guys have every single tool in their toolbox to have a really awesome life and not start out under the gun. So I hope that you'll do this again with me sometime soon, because our hour is about up here. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh. But
I think it'd be fun to break it down and actually show some of these exercises and really how simple it can be in working that out. So
that would be so great, because the thing is that the actual visual of seeing it and having you talk us through it, something that we may not be super exposed to, and the idea that it's accessible through the dogtread.com, that we can actually talk to people, including you, and it's actually an accessible thing we can do in our homes or wherever to help our dogs out. It's just fantastic. So once again, right before we leave here, can you just say what you want to say to people about the empowerment piece of the simplicity, whatever it is that you want to say in conclusion, and then remind people how to get a hold of you. And then you and I have to talk about doing this again on another topic, and doing Act 2 of Erika and Gambate Rehab. So here you go. Tell the world what you want to tell them, because I can't tell you how valuable these hours are with me. I feel like I've been in counseling. It's fantastic.
It's great. I'm really enjoying it myself, and it's giving me an opportunity to get it out there. Like you said, I'm creating it for myself, and maybe we should write a book, or I should get this stuff written more out of my head. This is definitely the beginning of it. But, the passion I have about talking about it and wanting to share this information is because it's not a secret and it needs to get out there. It's not just my way of how I make money. This is what I do because I love it. And it's my own therapy to know that I can meet an owner and today and let them walk away with a difference or making a difference in their dog's life prior to breakdown, prior to having the need of therapy is very big for me. It's been a passion of mine. Dr. Mike Stewart will tell you it's been a passion of mine. Margie Hare from Equimayo, from my original training 15 years ago, will tell you the same. You'll speak to everybody that, you know, therapy is my niche. This is what got me where I am. But I want you to know that we don't have to wait to therapy to start making a difference.
Yeah, that's so wise. I mean, the only word that comes to my mind is wise, because I think it's this proactive, or looking for what I do, being holistic and looking at the whole creature from beginning to end and helping them have the tools that they need internally, and whether that's neurologically, bone structure, musculoskeletal, whatever, and that you having the eye for it, and then you being willing to just, like you said, share. This is not a secret. I want everyone to know that this stuff exists, everyone to know that we can try. Anything is possible. Just keep trying and keep asking, and then we'll be here. And I get the feeling that we'll be doing a couple more of these on more like specific type things that people can actually see and integrate once they talk to you or somebody else. So Erika, thank you so much for your time and all of your expertise. I'm just so happy we met, and we will talk again in the very near future. What do you think?
Yes, that sounds great. That sounds great. I just want to add one quick thing because you're kind of, we'll end up going on and on over the hour, but one of my best situations is with my clients. I meet a client because they have a therapy need, and then, you transition their dogs into the aging world, and these things happen. But one of the better things is that when they come back with a new puppy and they say, all right, I got the new one now. We're not going to do this again this same way, and we work together. I love when my clients, we work together with the holistic vets and acupuncture, chiropractic, and we find a balance. We find a maintenance balance of what this animal needs for maintenance, and whether it's hands-on or touching base or giving that puppy the growth. It's great to find the feedback from the chiropractors, like when they say, well, why are you here? Why are you here? The dog is balanced. Things are good. 1 minute, please. Sorry about that. Mommy. But that the excuse me. Anyways, we'll wrap this up. But my daughter, she's trying to be visual here. Say hi, doctor. Hi, world. Okay, give me a second. So, in that sense, it's great to have the vet come back and say that they're feeling good because of what the owners are able to do to maintain and manage, and not necessarily get away from the quarterly maintenance or every 12-week session, but to know that their sound is great for my owners. They're just happy and delighted to know they're going to go on their next vacation and not run into any problems.
Yeah, I call those tune-ups. So when we're doing every 4 months, every 6 months, or before seasonal changes, or depending on the case, everyone working together, and then coming in for an every 6-month tune-up just to reevaluate and have a nice tune-up is it's a lovely thing to all be working together and not have to need me. And to put myself out of business is a good thing. Like, you don't need to come see me anymore for a while because you're good. Everything is good. You're just a healthier creature than we started with. So my idea of tune-ups is that my clients come, we goof around in here for a while, we drink coffee together, we talk about all the things that they've done that they haven't done in forever, and that's it. I mean, it's a really nice, and and having a tune-up every once in a while just to double check with whoever's working on their progress, so we're all on the same page. Yeah, it'd be nice to put myself out of business that way, wouldn't it? Oh gosh, thank you so much. And I love your daughter. She's just so darn cute. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's, got to find the time to do all these and keep working. So it's great to have you.
Well, we'll do this again, okay, Erika? And we've got a lot to talk about whether that's a book or a live broadcast, or it's I don't even know whether we can do a webinar. Who the hell knows what we'll do next? But I think this treadmilling idea is great. I think the puppy idea is fantastic. And every time we talk to you, it's something new. It's just like growing organically, which I think is just how it's supposed to go. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great evening.
You too, hon. Bye-bye.